Hey guys, remember to like the video and hit subscribe.
What is your main gripe with the unitary executive theory? I feel like the president should have power over the executive branch. I would have to read a larger paper on it, or any paper, a full paper on it. I just don't understand how you can believe in it. My understanding of the unitary executive theory is that every single office that exists in Congress is more or less an extension of the president's power, and that every time an FBI agent does something, he does so in place of the president, because the president himself can't be in a million places at once. But this seems to be at ends with the constitutional authority that Congress has to create and destroy offices of the executive branch. So if Congress is vested with the ability to create and remove departments in the executive branch, then how can we believe that the president himself is the one with exactly all of the power to determine how to wield the executive branch? I don't know. It seems to be at ends with the Constitution to me.
It just boggles my mind. Then, a judge froze Trump's spending freeze. He froze it even before it went into full effect. And shortly thereafter, the Trump administration rescinded the entire order, in part to avoid a court case that it seemed pretty clear they would lose. What Bannon wanted, what the Trump administration wants, is to keep everything moving fast.
Muzzle velocity.
If you're always consumed by the next outrage, you can't look closely at the last one. Then the impression of Trump's power remains, and the fact that he keeps stepping on rakes is missed. The projection of strength.
Did I start playing a thing? I'm so sorry. Fuck, my bad. I thought this was a thing in the background. My bad.
What Bannon wanted, what the Trump administration wants, is to keep everything moving fast.
Muzzle velocity.
If you're always consumed by the next outrage, you can't look closely at the last one. Then the impression of Trump's power remains, and the fact that he keeps stepping on rakes is missed. The projection of strength obscures the reality of weakness. Don't believe him. You can see this a few ways. Is Trump playing a part? Is he making a bet, or is he triggering a crisis? Those, I think, are the options, and I'm not certain that even he knows the answer. Trump has always been an improviser. But if you take it as a bet, a calculation, then here is a bet he's making. Maybe this Supreme Court, stocked with his appointees, gives him powers no peacetime president has ever possessed. Perhaps.
Why do you think Democrats didn't push to dismantle the power of the executive branch when they had the chance? It seems to me the presidency is too powerful, and now Trump is president. In the future, it could easily be worse. It could be. I mean, like, Democrats are already cucked out a bit when it comes to exercising like power as abusively as Republicans do. Like, is it really on the onus on Democrats to give back all the pieces of power every single time they're in when they are like that? Bro, that's too much. It can't be. You're talking about a game where you have two inters on your team. It's a League of Legends game with two inters, and you're trying to hyper-analyze mid and bot to figure out how they could have won with their top and jungle feeding all game. Like, it has to change. It's unwinnable right now. It has to change.
All this becomes legal now that he has asserted its legality. It's not impossible to imagine that bet paying off for him. So what if the bet fails? What if Trump's arrogations of power are soundly rejected by the courts? Then comes a question of constitutional crisis. Does he just ignore the court's ruling? To do that would be to attempt a kind of coup. I wonder if they have the stomach for that. The withdrawal of the OMB order, to me, suggests they don't. Because, bravado aside, Trump's political capital is thin. Gallup has Trump's approval rating at 47%. That is about 10 points beneath Joe Biden in January of 2021. Both in his first and his second terms, he entered office with approval ratings below that of any other president in the.
But unironically, isn't that what every high elo player will tell you to do? Focus on what you can control. Maybe I've lost sight of the analogy. Okay, let me help you with the analogy. Imagine if instead of having a game where you've got a teammate inting, imagine you have the exact same game, but that game is like 250 years long, and you can't just leave and go to the next one. That's the issue.
Modern era. And so I thought these defenses of Trump's firings were telling.
It is the belief of this White House.
And actually, it wouldn't surprise me. Any high elo player coaching a low elo player, unless league has changed significantly, would probably tell you that if you're grinding or if you're trying to get higher, if you've got an inter on your team, you forfeit 15, you can, or 20, forfeit 20 as soon as possible. Get out of that game. Don't waste your time destroying your mind and destroying your effort and wasting precious minutes in a game that can't be won. Just go to the next.
These defenses of Trump's firings were telling.
It is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that.
The law says he's supposed to give you 30 days notice. He didn't do that. Do you think he violated the law?
Well, technically, yeah.
Do you believe that it's legal?
By definition.
How real is the fear of Democratic backsliding? Vance doesn't seem as insane as Trump. I don't know what that means. How real is the fear? That's like asking, like, how real is the fear that like will survive to 2025. We already have. What do you mean? We've already had Democratic backsliding. This is already it's already happened. So like this, it's the question is how far will we backslide?
It's his administration. They work for him.
Technically, yeah.
Do you
God, it's bullshit how cool this guy looks with an eye patch.
believe that it's legal?
By definition, it's his administration. They work for him at the pleasure of the president. And if it's illegal, it should be legal.
So then ask yourself, why isn't Trump trying to make it legal? There is a reason Trump is doing all this through executive orders rather than submitting these same directives as legislation to pass through Congress. A more powerful executive could convince Congress to eliminate the spending he opposes, or to reform the civil service to give him the powers of hiring and firing that he seeks. And there's a good reason to do that. To write these changes into legislation would make them both more durable and would allow him to argue their merits in a more strategic way. He would be reforming the entire system. But Republicans at the moment, they have only a 3-seat edge in the House, smallest majority since the Great Depression. They have a 53-seat majority in the Senate. Trump is obviously doing nothing to reach out to Democrats. If Trump tried to pass this agenda as legislation, it would fail. And that would make Trump look weak. And Trump doesn't want to look weak. He remembers John McCain humiliating him in his first term by casting the deciding vote against Obamacare repeal. Congress is a place where you can lose. That is a tension at the heart of Trump's whole strategy.
Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders.
Trump is acting like a king because he's too weak to govern like a president.
With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense.
Am I wrong, or is this guy asking why doesn't he try to make it legal, missing the whole immunity point? No, he's just pointing out that like there's a reason why Trump is trying to do things via executive order and not through legislation in Congress. It's because he can't pass legislation because he's one guy. He can't do it. He doesn't have the support anywhere. Remember, this was one of the most, it's funny, this is one of the few things that Lichtman got correct. Well, I shouldn't say one of the few things. Lichtman probably got a lot of political analysis correct. People got really mad at him when he said this because Lichtman didn't give Trump the charisma key. And people are like, well, what do you mean? Trump is a charismatic president, if anything. No, he's not. Most people don't like Trump, and his approval ratings are historically low. It just doesn't feel that way because we're so divided. His approval ratings among Republicans is incredibly high. It's almost always like plus 90% or 90% plus. It's almost always higher than 90%. I think at its lowest with conservatives, like 84%, like at its lowest, I think, like after Gen 6 or something. So, but people think Trump is like charismatic and popular. He's not. This guy showed the chart earlier. Trump's not very popular.
This flurry of activity, it's meant to suggest the existence of a plan. But the closer you look, even at this first 2 weeks, the less true it seems.
We should watch this video from the Silly series. We've already watched it.
They are scrambling and flailing already. They are leaking against each other in the press already. We learned that the OMB directive was drafted reportedly without the input or oversight of key Trump officials.
Wait. It needs to be pushed harder that Trump wants to be a dictator because he is weak. A strong leader doesn't need to be a dictator because they can inspire others to follow them and make good decisions. It's not worth arguing that because Republicans want a dictator, and they won't say it's because they'll say, okay, fine, he's weak compared to what? The entire deep state? Of course. Like, it's a loser argument. You missed Short Fighter Talk-To's message. What did he say? Destiny, could he not pass legislation? The Republicans control both chambers and MAGA's primarying out everyone. No, because you need more than just a simple majority in the House and Senate to pass big bills, no? I should look at what majorities you need. I'm pretty sure you need more than just a simple majority.
It was drafted, leaking against each other in the press already. We learned that the OMB directive was drafted reportedly without the input or oversight of key Trump officials. It didn't go through.
This is what I was saying with it. Like, even if you support Trump's actions here, it's a failure in leadership to not bring in anybody else from leadership to get this, like, implemented.
Trump officials. It didn't go through the proper approval process, an administration official told the Washington Post. For that to be the process and product of such a sweeping signature initiative in the second week of a president's second term, it's embarrassing. But it's not just a spending freeze. The Trump administration is waging an immediate war on the bureaucracy, trying to replace the deep state they believe hampered them in the first term.
How disillusioned are you with the concept of American democracy? It seems that a lot of Americans are retarded and highly susceptible to lies as to allow for the weakening of democracy. It's not just Americans, though. It's everybody. We just have to figure out a way to deal with the media atmosphere. We have to figure out a way to deal with the media atmosphere. Right now, we just don't know how. Hopefully we figure it out before everything comes crashing down.
Immediate war on the bureaucracy, trying to replace the deep state they believe hampered them in the first term. And a big part of this project...
Fuck, sorry. As a Spaniard, the whole concept of the deep state is very alien to our politics, so I never really knew what it's supposed to mean. Is it some kind of unfalsifiable idea? The deep state is basically just Donald Trump as the president wants to do everything to fix our country, and anytime he can't do it, there's like shady, weird bureaucrats in government that are trying to sabotage him at every step. Yes, the deep state is fundamentally unfalsifiable. Yeah. And there's no evidence for any type of huge coordinated effort whatsoever. It's an unfalsifiable conspiracy theory.
Trying to replace the deep state they believe hampered them in the first term. And a big part of this project seems to have been outsourced to Elon Musk, who's bringing the tactics he used at Twitter to the federal government.
We're about 20% of the original size.
So 80% left?
Yes.
He has longtime aides now at the Office of Personnel Management, and the email that got sent out to nearly all federal employees even reused the subject line of the email he sent out to Twitter employees after the acquisition. A fork in the road. It's a kind of bragging. Elon wants he wants everybody to know it was him.
The scary thing is that, and this is the issue because remember, this is the playbook for Republicans. The playbook is, it used to be, you guys are doing this horrible thing. And they go, well, no, we're not. And they go, we're going to stop you from doing this horrible thing. It's like, okay, well, we're not. And then they're in government. And then we're like, hold on, you're about to do a horrible thing. And they're like, no, we're not. And then they start doing the horrible thing. We're like, you're doing the horrible thing. And they're like, well, no, we're not really. And it's like, now there's proof that you're doing the horrible thing. Like, well, you guys already did it, so we can too. So it's like a lose-lose. There's like no way to actually do anything about it. Because the reality is now we are getting to a deep state point, but it's with Elon Musk. But the only difference is like their deep state, there was no evidence of it at all. It was just all like posting on 4chan and QAnon and shit. And our evidence of the deep state is literally Elon Musk and Doge right now, a fake department of the government that is going into other parts of the federal government and pulling the plug on organizations and then bragging about it publicly like that. So
the email offered millions of civil servants a backdoor buyout. Agree to resign, and in theory, at least, you can collect your paycheck and benefits until the end of September without doing any work. The Washington Post reported that the email blindsided many in the Trump administration who would normally have consulted on a notice like that. It blindsided many of the people who are going to have to run these agencies that are now going to be dotted by resignations. I suspect Musk...
Why do you call it a fake? Because Doge is not like a real department authorized and created by Congress. It's just like a little meme department created within the office of the White House. It shouldn't have the authority to go into other departments and pull funding or pull the plug on them, because departments that are created by Congress have to be deleted by Congress. One day I'll actually learn the Constitution. Wait, Article 2 is the President? Which one is Congress? It's Article 1, Article 4, Article 1. Congress, President, Judicial. Judicial is 3, right? Which clause is about creating offices? I should memorize these. Is it this clause? To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into exercise the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. I'm gonna think of, I don't know if that's the wrong one of, hold on. Constitutional authorization, Congress to create departments. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. Wait, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. The President shall have the power, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges, the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for. Oh, okay, sorry, it's this here. And all other officers of the United States. So your officers are essentially your cabinet, right? These are the heads of your departments, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, so they haven't been declared by the Constitution yet, and which shall be established by law, meaning the Congress. The Congress may, by law, vest the appointment of such inferior officers, so like your people underneath the top-level officers, as they think proper, in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. So this is why it can be illegal for, like, the president, I don't believe, would be allowed to fire the deputy attorney general. The attorney general would have to fire the deputy attorney general, but the president could fire the attorney general, if that makes sense, I think. Unless Congress, when they created the Department of Justice, or when Congress creates something, they can specify, well, the president can do that or can't do that.